Today I'm going to talk about tigers and topologies, but the first thing is, if you have to take a flight or if you have to leave for whatever reasons, I want you to take this talk with 3 take-home messages. 1, we are all driven by values, and everything that we do in life is driven by values. And that is true for scientists as well. And in my case, the solutions that I'm looking for in 2 different projects that I have been part of till now, I have found that it is really interesting that how similar values are part of the solution process. Second, we are in an overcrowded world, and it is not about just altruism, but in order to make sure that we survive, we have to share information. We have to share resources. And that's not just for the people who have a lot, but for everyone to make sure that we can actually make the best of it. Third, for survival, information is extremely important. It enables decision making, and for that, we have to not just consider the best of the best, but sometimes more bottom up and go to places where we are not even sure, but we will find gold. Okay, so now you can go have a nice flight if you have to go, but otherwise, let's continue. So I always start my presentations by saying thank you to a lot of people who have supported me, guided me in my process of my scientific journey. And recently, I'm actually very grateful to these people over here, especially this girl over here. She's Sushila. She keeps me alive when I'm researching tigers. She's extremely brave. Okay, now, so I was talking about values. One of the values that I constantly try to make part of my process is that it is very important to understand that everyone is unique and special what they bring into our projects. But it is also true when we are trying to make a communication network, or if you're trying to understand how tigers actually explore areas. And if we want to make use of that solution, if we want to make use of that knowledge, then we have to empower people. We have to give them agency. And agency giving is difficult than what we think about. And the other value that I have actually found out a lot is that people are actually willing to share. They want to give away their information. They want to give away resources in order for survival. And information is power. So let's go to a situation where all of this is actually true, such as disasters. Now, disasters are very special situations. Why I say so is because during disasters, a lot of things are happening simultaneously. One, infrastructures that on which society depend on, for example, road networks, electricity, things that make our life easy, make our life stable, are gone. And we don't know when they are going to be back. At that point of time, we actually depend on community. We depend on our neighbors to bring us out of our rubble. And what makes a huge difference between our survival is access to information. However, access to information is not guaranteed because infrastructure is gone, specifically communication infrastructure. So we are in an institute where almost everyone researches computer networks. Please raise your hand if you know about a particular app, an emergency communication system that works without infrastructure, that you know, you use, and you're prepared. Garmin, what, sorry?
Garmin satellite phone.
Okay, yeah. So you will talk to one satellite to another satellite phone. Okay. Yeah, Rohit raised his hand. Yeah. Yeah, okay. So yeah, from the app that I created, yes, there are actually quite a number of to choose from, because, well, let's face it, it's quite a long journey for communication networks. We have reached Mars, so why not? Why can't we have all these communication networks? So these are all peer-to-peer communication networks that you can choose from. And the topology that they base on is called full mesh topology. So what is a full mesh topology? A full mesh topology allows us to connect everyone in our vicinity by focusing on our Wi-Fi or on our Bluetooth, yeah? So how does that work? So this is a full simulation of a full mesh topology. So what happens, what we do is that we turn on our phone, we connect to everybody in our vicinity, and this leads to a self-organized network. So that's great. Now everybody is connected to everybody. We are all able to send and receive messages. Fantastic. So this is based on a value of equality. Everyone should be able to connect and send and receive messages. Great. But look here, what happens when you look at the energy of this particular situation and what does it do to participation? The reason is that there is extreme drastic energy loss, and within 24 hours, we have less than 10% participation. So although this is based on the values of equal connectivity, we do not get equal participation. So, and it is bad also for people who have a lot of battery in their phones, because who are you going to talk to? So it doesn't really work. But why is this happening? That's the question. Because in this mesh network, if we follow, let's say, in reality, not everyone has full charge batteries, right? So everyone will have disparity in a setup. In that case, if we ask everyone to do the same thing, which is bear the load, so if we measure the betweenness centrality, which is how much traffic goes through my phone, which is relaying and connecting and all of that, and we ask everyone to do the same thing, then we see that eventually the one with very low battery will drop out the first, as expected. So when eventually you will start having these gaps in the network, which means people are dropping out, leading to dissolving of the network. But we can do better. We can ask all people to buy good phones. Yeah, let's just ask everyone to do so. But the problem is that the person, for example, who in Kolkata is collecting garbage, has a salary less than $150 per month. We cannot expect him to buy a phone just because we ask him to buy a phone. And he's not one. There are many. So the socioeconomic disparity is extremely high and the cost of phones are way too much. So we cannot ask people to buy new phones. Okay. And usually people would have phones like this. Very simple phones. So how do we make sure that we can make a solution that actually work on this? While the population is actually large, the density is quite large. So I came up with a solution and I call it self-organization for survival. And I think, how about rather than asking everyone to do the same thing, we tell them, no, let's make a smart decision. Let's attach based on a preference. So it is kind of a preferential attachment, but not based on node degree. Rather than node degree, how about we find out in my local vicinity who can bear the cost of our communication network to connect. And by constantly connecting and actually adapting to this changing context, we can distribute the load between the people who can actually bear the load of this communication network. So what happens is that people who have very low battery are on the edges. People who have a lot of battery are more central. But as the communication network evolves, as you see here, we also measured the betweenness centrality for 3 nodes. So very low, medium, and high. And we saw that they were able to actually adjust the communication load. And when we do so, what we see is that everyone can actually stay connected to the network. Now, this will have a huge impact on the participation. So we did do this experiment again with this loop-free, preferentially attached network, SOS, and we started to measure the same thing, participation. And we wanted to see how long can this network actually work. And as we expected, because this is a completely self-healing algorithm, we were able to extend the life of the network by 72 hours, even longer. So 60% of the population was able to remain connected. Now, this is great for everyone, and because the first 72 hours is the time when we need to make survival as much as possible. It's called golden period in disaster management, and this makes sure that you are able to get very vital information, simple information like I need first aid, I need a blanket, I don't want to get water. So this has the benefit that if we deploy this kind of a network, we can actually ensure that collective intelligence can be used. And this can actually allow people to send and receive messages for a longer period of time. Okay, but what does this mean for cities? For example, we are here, and if we go to Kolkata, the population density of Kolkata is 4 times that of Zurich. And the probability of having a disaster in Kolkata is way higher than Zurich. So we wanted to measure what is the effect of comparing mesh topology, so full mesh topology, in relation to SOS. And we varied the population density from almost like 100 to around 900 people, and the message frequency from 1 to 10. And we saw that SOS outperforms mesh almost in every single parameter, except if you are stuck in Reykjavik and then you want to send in a lot of messages in 1 minute, like boom, 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 boom. In that case, I would say if you're 3 people, just connect with the people you want to send to. Don't use someone in between. So mesh would not work, would be like SOS would not work there. Mesh would be a better choice. Okay, so now, Professor Halbing. This is something I remember. This I thought I was just thinking, what are the strange things that we have done together? So while we were submitting this particular paper, Professor Helbing was very kind to say, would you like it if I actually join you while we are submitting this paper? I said, yes, of course, absolutely. I was quite tense. And he came and we were together, and I was quite nervous about submitting the paper. And he was more, if like equal, if not more excited for both of us. And he sensed that I was quite nervous. So he asked me, what is it? Why are you nervous? I said, yeah, I don't know what's going to happen. And he said something very profound. He said, doing science is great, but you have to also enjoy the process of doing science, and you have to also enjoy the culmination of results that you put out to the world. That's also something that you have to learn. So thank you very much. I have been using that. So yeah, that's it. And then, now, so that was the first part of the presentation, tigers and topologies. And I said that sharing is one of the most key component if we want to survive on this planet. Now, sharing is not only limited to the human world, and as you know that I do agent-based models, I have added a new agent, a new species to my models, and that's tigers. And as you see here, sadly, the yellow represents the world, the territories or the habitat that tigers usually used to have 100 years ago. So we used to have 100,000 tigers 100 years ago. However, due to climate change, urbanization, illegal poaching, and trading, less than 7% remains, which is represented here in orange. And the numbers are dwindling, they are endangered. And one of the things that is actually affecting tigers the most is drying riverbeds. So due to extreme droughts, tigers usually have to walk more than 100 kilometers in order to get water. And because of rising temperatures, they would like to spend more time in the water, which is hardly available. By the way, these footage who are from BBC, who were also filming while I was doing my field work. I was on foot, they were on drones, so they have better footage. Okay, next. Now, things are getting serious. So, who can tell me what makes James Bond an excellent agent? True. And well, I think he is an absolute agent because he has very clear goals. He's extremely autonomous in making decisions about achieving his goals. So it doesn't matter who is there. Like everything around him can blow up, but he is going to fulfill his goals. And everything around him, like it doesn't matter if there is a grenade comes to him, an umbrella, he will change his decisions. So he has agency. He doesn't wait for MI6 to tell him what to do. Now, my agent is a tiger. He has also very clear goals. He has to survive and reproduce. These are the goals that he has. And he has to also make free decisions of, he has to hunt, mate, explore, rest, and defend itself from all the humans that are trying to kill him or other tigers that are trying to take over resources for him. So you see, they have to also kind of coexist among humans and among their own species. And these decisions that they have to do has to be based on a completely changing context dependent scenario where you don't know if the herd of deers that used to be there are still there or not. the river that used to be there last season is there or not, or if there will be a human waiting to trap it. So these are all the conditions that it goes through, and these are the riverbeds that used to be rivers. And tigers also communicate. What they do is that they leave scratch marks in order to declare that it is their place. They leave urine marks, they leave scatter plots, and etc. And this is all to inform other tigers that, hey, I live here, this is my resource, and I use it. And this particular picture, I want to show it here. You see a tiger footprint, and you see quite next to it are these tractor marks. Now, this particular picture is very interesting because I was there and you see that they're both very wet because they are fresh. So tigers were waiting there with a baby. There are two footprints here. We observed that the tractor came, it picked up gravel from the floor of the river because that's how concrete is made. It left, and then they came, they drank water, and they left. So you see, they have also learned how to do partitioning of their time to use the same resources, and that's how they're coexisting. Now, there are tons of models out there, yeah? Many models out there. They really expect your tigers to have all the knowledge in the world. Like they should have prey density probabilities. They should have probabilities of where they will find the mate. They should have like a full-blown GIS map that you can use with the thumbs to figure out in which season the water will be available, all of that. Very cool tiger. But in reality, that's not how it is done, especially when reality is constantly changing. For example, what we see here is a couple that is copulating, and within less than a kilometer, there is another couple that is also copulating. If you look at tiger literature for the last 60 years, this is not possible. They will kill each other. They will never be within each other. They will defend their territory, and it's not possible. And this is one of the clear signs that they have to adjust with the decreasing space that we are giving them. Okay, so what do I do? Given that I cannot trust the data which is online, so I go to my community and I do my own fieldwork, and I do a participatory focus workshops in which I combine knowledge from all the people who have lived in this buffer zones or around this national park for years, for generations, and they walk in the national forest. And I make these very specific workshops in which my job is to figure out how do tigers explore their areas. We use the same language that they speak in. I speak the dialect. And in this, I have a mixed participant group. I have people with a lot of experience, 40 years, to people who have just started to do for 10 years. There are both men and women who are working in field. There are people with a lot of authority, like government officials who are in patrolling, and there are people who actually live in community forests who actually find tigers in their backyard. And we all debate about how do they observe tigers, given all these parameters are changing: temperature, rainfall, age, gender, and etc. You will be surprised how much knowledge they possess that you will not find in literature. And if not, you can ask them to draw this beautiful how the tiger moves, and they will draw and they will tell you how they explore and utilize resources that they need. So guys, if you're having a problem with finding knowledge, go to your community. Next, I said that I make agent-based models. So what do I do with all this data that I collect? I make my models, and in my model, my tigers still don't have thumbs. They really don't have all the GIS data, but what they have is cognition. They have needs, they have desires, and they learn about their movement, their environment by moving around. And they learn where is the grass, which is represented here in green, where is free spaces in brown, where are like dark, very dense forests in black, and a blue patch, which is river. And as these tigers move around, I follow how as you see here, there's one particular tiger that is actually shifting its territory on and on again, depending on where it can find food and fulfill all its different needs. So you see these needs are constantly moving, and the white here represents human settlement. So you see here, actually the fear of human is highest. What we also see, these pink dots are cubs. So in my model, of course, old tigers die eventually because they don't have enough energy to find resources, especially water. But as life moves on, they also give birth. There are new cubs, and territories form, evolve, disappear, and reappear. So the next step in my model is to actually combine all of this into a GIS model, so an spatially explicit ABM model in which I will be combining land use, land type, rivers, and behaviors of tigers to study and make policies of where to actually put water holes, how to create safe fencing systems, how to create corridors for the tigers. So that was me. And by the way, happy Valentine's Day. And I wanted to say it has been an honor to present in front of you and to learn from all of you. And it remains a privilege. Thank you so much.